Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, the latest updates are about to hit everyone who wears these colors hard. A brutal matchup with the Cowboys is coming, and our head coach dropped a statement that landed heavy. At the same time, things behind the scenes are heating up with talks about bringing a true star into the roster. Meanwhile, the offensive line has everyone holding their breath after the latest news, and there is a full plan taking shape on how Minnesota wants to slow down Dallas's powerful offense. Stick with me, because the final story goes straight at the future of the locker room. But before we dive into all of this, quick moment with you. Subscribe to the channel, it is free, and it helps a ton to keep these daily breakdowns coming. Drop a like as well. That pushes the video so YouTube shows it to more Vikings fans, and jump into the comments with your take. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football, and the energy is shared. A big game is coming, and this is not just any game. The Vikings defense is coming off a beautiful shutout, one of those performances you remember, but now the challenge gets real. Dallas brings an offense that can hurt you. Even in a recent loss, they put points on the board without mercy. That changes everything. It changes the plan. It changes the atmosphere. Over the last few days, our head coach openly talked about their quarterback. And it was not empty talk, it was real respect. He talked about leadership. He talked about command. He talked about the kind of player who steps on the field and makes the whole team believe. You can feel it is not just film study. It is the perspective of someone who knows how deep this goes. That raises a red flag for anyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. The conversation does not stop there. When you look at this Cowboys offense, it is not just one guy. There are two wide receivers who can flip a game on their own. One makes those insane catches that lift the entire stadium. The other is quieter, but he punishes every coverage mistake. The Vikings defense will have to pick its poison. Double one. Trust the one-on-one on the other side. You cannot cover everything at once. Brian Flores knows this type of challenge. He has seen it up close. He has gone against this level of talent before, and he made it clear that this is one of the toughest receiving duos in the league right now. That matters. This is not a throwaway quote. It is the voice of someone who knows that one wrong step turns into 7 points fast, especially on the road. There is another detail people are not talking about much. One of those receivers is coming off a bad game. Low numbers. Production below his standard. Players like that usually answer back. They do not accept being quiet 2 weeks in a row. That means the Vikings defense has to play with its teeth clenched from the first snap. No drifting. No waiting for the game to come to them. To be honest with you, I see this matchup as a real measuring stick for the defense. This is not about repeating a shutout. That is fantasy. This is about holding up under pressure, forcing mistakes at the right moment, showing maturity. If Minnesota contains this Dallas offense in Dallas, the message to the entire league changes. Between us, this is the kind of fan-driven read you do not get everywhere. It is stadium talk from people who have seen this movie go right and go wrong with the Vikings. That is why this game hits so hard for everyone in purple and gold. Now I want to hear from you. How do you think the defense should attack this challenge? Tell me what is on your mind in the comments, because this debate is about to get loud. And stay right here, because the next story completely changes the scale of what is at stake for this team. Here's the thing. The internet went into full meltdown mode this week. The idea of bringing a superstar quarterback to Minnesota started flying around. Those classic what-if conversations. But this time it did not stay as a meme. He made comments at a press conference. People connected the dots. Suddenly it became the topic at bars, on radio, and on couches everywhere. Let us slow it down. For a trade like this to happen, something rare has to occur in the NFL. The player would have to demand out. On top of that, there is a no-trade clause. So it is not just about the Vikings wanting it. The player has to want it badly, and his current team has to swallow a massive loss. From Cincinnati's side, the hit would be brutal. Trading him would create an enormous amount of dead money against the salary cap, the kind of number that keeps a general manager awake at night. That alone makes this extremely unlikely. But fine, we are talking hypotheticals here. A world where he points to purple and gold and says that is where he wants to be. The next question is simple. Can the contract even fit? The Vikings have already spent money to build a strong roster, and projections show them over the cap in 2026. That is intimidating. But the NFL is a juggling act. If you have a smart cap specialist, space can be created. Restructure here, extend there, push bonuses forward. It is ugly, but it works. To be honest with you, the Vikings have enough levers to pull if this opportunity were real. You can adjust Justin Jefferson's deal and create breathing room. You can extend Brian O'Neill and spread out the hit. You can rework a pass rusher contract to gain flexibility. And if needed, you cut an expensive veteran and live with the pain. When you add it all up, you can get close to what is required. That is where Rob Brzezinski comes in. This is his world. He finds space where nobody else sees it. I swear sometimes it looks like magic. But the cost is the real issue. And it is not just money. It is draft picks. It is players leaving. It is chemistry inside the locker room. When you do this, you are saying now is the window. You are pushing all the chips in. I understand the excitement. A quarterback of that caliber reshapes the NFC. But the bill comes later, and it comes with interest. Here in Minnesota, we have seen dreams turn into hangovers before. So I am cautious. I look at the roster and ask myself if it is worth tearing down good pieces to stack everything on one superstar, or if it is smarter to keep building and protect the future. That is the internal debate among Vikings fans right now. I feel it too. I think about it, get excited, then take a breath and come back to reality. And if this conversation already feels hot, hold on. The next update is far more concrete. It is about who will actually be on the field, and that can swing Sunday in an instant. All right, now let us talk about something that decides games the hard way, the offensive line. This week brought that uncomfortable scare. The star left tackle showed up on the injury report, and his routine changed. He did not practice on Wednesday. He did not practice on Thursday. Then on Friday, he was limited. That gives you hope, but it also leaves that knot in your stomach. His official status for Sunday Night Football is questionable. In fan terms, he might play or he might not, and we will not truly know until close to kickoff. Kevin O'Connell was straightforward about it. It depends on how the player feels coming out of Friday's work. And I will tell you, that affects the entire plan. This is not a random injury history. He has been managing the impact of that 2024 knee injury. Some weeks he has pushed through, other weeks he had to leave early. There was even a separate foot issue along the way. His whole season has been about management. Practice one day, rest the next, then ramp back up. But this week he missed the first 2 days entirely. That is the warning light on the dashboard. I am not going to sugarcoat it. Even when he plays less than 100%, he still changes the offense. He helps the run game. He gives the quarterback time to breathe, and he keeps the team away from the backup plan. That backup plan is exactly what makes everyone in purple and gold grind their teeth, because backups facing a strong pass rush usually lead to pain. To be honest with you, this questionable tag feels more dangerous than it looks. It is not just whether he plays, it is how effective he can be if he does. If he is limited, the Cowboys will hunt that matchup. They will test every step and every change of direction, and under the lights, everything is magnified. Now, it is not all bad news. Some players who showed up on the report are cleared. TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison were listed due to normal December soreness, the wear and tear of the season. Both are good to go. That matters because the offense needs weapons, quick outlets, and ways to relieve pressure inside. There is also Ty Chandler, who is in his return window. He practiced fully all week and is still listed as questionable, but there is a real chance he is activated. If he plays, he helps on special teams and adds rotation in the backfield. And in a tight game, field position and returns matter. On the Dallas side, their report is heavy too. Their starting left tackle is out, and key names at tight end, corner, and pass rusher are questionable. That could open doors for the Vikings' pass rush and passing game. But the NFL loves to mess with expectations, and those guys often play anyway. So let me ask you straight up. If the Vikings' left tackle cannot go, how do you adjust the offensive plan? More quick passes, more tight end help? Let me know in the comments because this decision could define Sunday. And stay locked in because the next story is all about real pressure, a big stage, and a young quarterback who has to answer. All right, this is the part I have been waiting to talk about. A lot of people look at past defense stats and assume this game will feel like last week. It will not. Not even close. Yes, the numbers say Dallas gives up a lot of passing yards, but context screams louder. This is Sunday Night Football in Arlington inside a packed AT&T Stadium with the Cowboys fighting for their playoff lives. That weight is real. Last week was comfortable. The Vikings controlled the score early. They leaned on the run. They worked the short passing game. Third down stayed manageable. The quarterback operated within the script, and it worked. But that script can rip apart fast this week. Dallas has an offense that drags teams into shootouts. They score, they accelerate, they force you to respond. That is the real test for the young quarterback. It is not just whether he can complete passes, it is whether he can survive an avalanche. When the opponent scores, you cannot live on short throws alone. You have to convert third and long. You have to stretch the field. You have to hit the timing with Justin Jefferson. And you have to do it with noise, lights, and cameras all around you. To be honest with you, I do not buy the idea that this will be easy just because their defense ranks poorly. Bad defenses can look better for one reason. Big games. They pin their ears back. They bring pressure. and they added a monster in the middle of their defensive line through a mid-season trade. One player like that can wreck a play by himself, collapsing the pocket and making an offensive line look worse than it is. What I want to see is maturity, quick reads, courage without stubbornness. There is a difference. Courage is attacking the right window. Stubbornness is forcing the ball into double coverage and handing out gifts. Anyone who lives and breathes Vikings football knows how much that hurts. We have lost too many games that way. Another factor is how much the Cowboys score. Even a good defense can bend under that pressure. The Vikings defense might hold for stretches. They might force a turnover, but if the offense cannot keep up, you are living on the edge all night. This is the kind of game that shapes a quarterback's confidence. If he answers, he grows. If he freezes, the noise gets loud fast. I am curious to see how Kevin O'Connell calls this game. Does he protect the kid? Does he let it rip? Does he blend play action with quick concepts? There is a thin line here. Protect too much and you become predictable. Open it up too much and the pass rush takes over. One more thing sticks with me. Last week went great, but a lot of factors helped. This time, if the score tightens and the clock shrinks, the quarterback has to save drives. That is when fans in purple and gold hold their breath. That is when Defend the North becomes more than a slogan. It becomes a demand. This is not just another game. It is a test. It is a showcase. And if he delivers, the league-wide conversation changes. And the next story hits differently because it is not about Sunday. It is about 2026 and the man holding this defense together. We talk about offense, we talk about quarterbacks, we talk about injuries, but let me tell you something. This defense has an identity, and there is a name behind it. Brian Flores. Since he arrived, the way the Vikings play defense has changed. Pressure from everywhere, disguises, in-game adjustments, and that constant feeling that opponents are uncomfortable. Now there is a tricky topic on the table, the future. Normally, when a defensive coordinator is doing this well, the league lines up. Interviews start, shortlists form, fans start worrying about losing him. This time, the noise is quieter, much quieter, and that is not speculation. Insider lists of top head coach candidates came out, and Flores was not on them. Another list heavy on defensive coaches dropped, and again he was missing. There was even a massive list that named almost everyone, and that is where he finally appeared. But when you look at the top-tier names, he is not there. That is strange, and at the same time, it creates a selfish sense of hope. I will admit it. To be honest with you, I think two forces are at play. First, his work in Minnesota is strong, but the team is not in a headline-grabbing season. When the offense struggles, the spotlight fades. Second, there is the weight of past stories. Some people around the league still remember what happened in Miami, and his lawsuit against the NFL is ongoing. That becomes background noise for owners and front offices, fair or not. Now look at it from the Vikings side. His contract as defensive coordinator expires after this season. That creates real risk. If someone decides to take a chance, he could leave. But if the market is not calling him to be a head coach, the most logical outcome is that he stays. And Minnesota would love that, because the O'Connell and Flores pairing works. One stabilizes the offense and the culture. The other gives the defense its backbone. The numbers back it up. Even with an uneven season, the defense ranks well in key metrics, including expected points allowed, defensive value over average, yards allowed, and quarterback pressure. It is not perfect, but it is competitive. What is wild is how much better it could be if the offense helped more, sustained drives, and kept the score manageable. That is when Flores becomes even more dangerous and the defense plays free. I keep thinking about what this means for 2026. If he stays, you keep continuity, language, and an aggressive DNA. That is rare. Teams that constantly change coordinators live in restart mode, and Vikings fans are tired of restarting. I have seen Minnesota restart too many times. It is exhausting, but it also feeds that stubborn hope. This Flores situation may not be the loudest story today, but it hits the heart of the roster, the locker room, and everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football, setting up a much bigger reflection than simply win or lose on Sunday. I am going to say this clearly. This team is at a turning point. You see respect from the head coach toward the opponent, and that tells you the test is real. At the same time, fans hear talk of a superstar quarterback and their pulse jumps. Then reality hits with injury reports along the offensive line. And on Sunday night, the young quarterback has to prove under the lights that he is more than just potential. Being completely honest with you, all of that would already be enough. But then there is the Flores situation. He could hold the soul of this defense together for longer, or it could turn into a major shift. I think the Vikings are closer to becoming a dangerous team than most people admit, but the margin is thin. One wrong move and it unravels. One big hit and the NFC conversation changes. Drop your thoughts in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go.